Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, and joining us on the show, we have two of the three sons for today's podcast. If you're new to Big League Dreaming, the show is about baseball and the game that all of us love so much. Like I said, if you're new to it, we talk a little bit about everything, all levels of baseball, and we bring on an occasional guest every now and then. Today, we do have a very special guest. Can't wait to introduce him and tell you more about what he brings to the game of baseball. And we're going to talk a lot about the junior college level of baseball. So if you're into JUCO and you want to know more about it, this is a show perfectly for you. Let's introduce the guests, the sons on the show. Let's start in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Zach Gonzalez is joining us. He's the Mariners fan. Zach, how you doing there?
I'm doing great. We're in full swing of the winter meetings, so I've been following the free agent signings and trades. Things are heating up as far as Major League Baseball goes. So it's fun to talk about baseball.
It is. The Winter Leagues, you're right. The meetings always have some surprises. And when your phone alert goes off, you're like, okay, what's going on now, right? And you just never know. Joining us from Grand Rapids, Michigan, it's son number 2. It's Ty Gonzalez. He's the Mets fan, and it's a good day to be a Mets fan, right, Ty?
Yeah, for some, I don't know how I feel about it yet, about the signing yet. I don't know. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in a lot of years.
Well, I mean, I think Ty said it, or Zach said it in a text between all three of us, all four of us, that he's a generational player. We're talking about Juan Soto. How many millions did he sign for, Ty?
It's like 750 or something crazy, like 50 million a year, something outrageous.
Something outrageous. Zane Gonzalez is the third son. He's on today's show. He's the Red Sox fan. I think they had a signing today, didn't they, Zach? Did the Red Sox sign somebody today?
They signed, well, you might be thinking of Max Fried signing with the Yankees. Is that what you're thinking of, Dad? I don't know if the Red Sox signed somebody today.
I thought I saw an alert go off my phone that the Red Sox signed someone today. So we'll have to check it out in between talking to our guest. Let's just introduce them. Zach, I said we're going to talk about the JUCO level of college baseball. Why don't you introduce today's guest on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So today, someone that I've wanted to have join our show for a long time because we're all big advocates for junior college baseball. My friend Austin Biggs, me and Austin used to coach together down summer travel showcase ball in Myrtle Beach. And he's now a head coach for a junior college program down in Mississippi. But I'm probably going to mispronounce it. So, Biggs, thanks for joining. And how do we pronounce your school?
Yeah, thanks so much for y'all having me tonight. I'm really excited. It's Coahoma. So,
Okay.
Coahoma. Yep, Coahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi. So, home of the Blues.
I love it. Yeah, I thought it was Coahoma, but
Coahoma.
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 All right.
Yeah.
And I also saw that you're like right on the Arkansas border. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're to the river is about 10 miles to the Mississippi River, and you go up, not 20, you can go across it and go to West Helena up into Arkansas. Yep. And then about another hour to Memphis, Tennessee. So we're kind of in a neat little geographical place up in here. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. So, Zach, you said you guys coached together?
Yeah, when I was living in Myrtle Beach and I was coaching in the BCBL league, where I had some Kalamazoo Valley kids play for me in that Summerwood Bat League. Biggs was also coaching in that league, and then the commissioner for that league, he ran a travel showcase program, and I had coached one of his teams in the past, and he gave one of the teams to Biggs, and Biggs needed an assistant, so me and him were traveling the state of South Carolina, coaching some 17U kids that summer. It was a blast.
What a crazy summer. Yeah, it was awesome. That was the summer of 16, wasn't it? Goodness gracious.
Yes.
Zach, any good memories of that summer? Any big differences between the two of you about yanking a pitcher or a rotation or a batting order or anything fun?
Yeah, I think the most fun I had was when we were in upstate Greenville and Biggs's car broke down, and then he got out and pulled out some Batman tape out of his trunk, went under his car. I don't know where he went. And then he just came out and goes, yep, that'll do it. And I'm pretty sure he burned the side of his arm. And then we were rolling.
Never looked back from it either. We just kept on rolling.
That sounds like a great time. Maybe not for you, Biggs, but in your arm.
It was good.
Well,
I think my favorite memory, if I could interject.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we didn't have these. They've now moved into our area. We didn't have cookout. Cookout was not it's not a thing in Mississippi before this. Like I said, they've since come in and we're rolling through, and I don't even know where we were, Zach. We're somewhere in upstate, I think. And we get hungry and Zach's like, "Hey, we're gonna go to cookout." I'm like, "All right, dude, like I don't know. Like I have no idea." I think I ate cookout like once a week for the next like 3 weeks at least after that, because it was just so good. So that's one of my fondest memories of that summer. It was awesome.
I do like visiting Zach in North Carolina, and I'll say, all right, we'll go to the drive-thru at Cookout. I'll say, you order, because I have no idea what you guys are talking about. A tray and this and that. And I'm like, what? You don't even know what's going on. But yeah, we have to make a stop. Ty, did we go to Cookout when we were down there together, all of us as a family?
I don't think so. I don't think I've been there.
No, you're missing out, Ty.
I know.
You're missing out, buddy. Missing out.
I know.
Well, like I said, today's topic of the show is junior college. And Zach, all three of the Gonzalez boys, you, Ty, and Zane, all played at the JUCO level here in Michigan. I'm really excited to hear from Austin there about what their level of play is like. But I'll let Zach, you start out real quick. Just kind of like what junior college baseball means to you.
Yeah, so it means a lot to me because me coming out of high school, I was so young for my class. I was the youngest graduating guy in my class. Like there was like one or two girls younger than me in my graduating class. So I was kind of a late bloomer, the tall, skinny kid. So JUCO was a great route for me to be able to learn so much, learn how to, because you get to play a lot, learn how to play the game and get a little bit bigger, stronger, and have more opportunities going to transfer onto a 4-year school than I did out of high school. I know it was the same exact route for Ty and Zane. And, it's very affordable. And there's a lot of kids that get hung up on, I want to go to a 4-year school, even if it is Division II or Division III. And it's a lot more expensive. So I knew coming out of college and not really having too much of the student loan burden was really important to me, and being able to play as a freshman. So anytime I talk to kids, I'm a big advocate for the JUCO route because there's really not too many drawbacks at all.
Ty, I know you also had a great experience at the JUCO level in Michigan. You probably would echo what Zach had to say, but I think also for you, it gave you an incentive to maybe go on to the next level, right? I mean, this is where you found out like how good you really are, even at the JUCO level, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the route for me was a no-brainer because I wasn't super fast. I didn't throw hard for a right-handed utility pitcher. My 60 time was terrible, but I was a good ball player, so it was the perfect route for me. And academically too, I wasn't like getting straight A's or anything or any big academic scholarships. And like Zach said, you get a chance to play, and you don't have to fight for an at bat for your freshman year. You're going to get some opportunities to get some sort of playing time, whether it's fall ball or sometime in the spring.
So Austin, for you at Coahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi, what are these Michiganders? I mean, is this what you're hearing down south as well?
Say again. I'm sorry, it broke up. What'd you say? Say that again. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So for you in Mississippi, and we just relayed kind of the Michigan experience here.
Yeah.
What does the community college level offer to players that play for your program?
Yeah, man, and like kind of echoing just kind of them what they were talking about. Yeah, I think it's the same, very similar thing for us. Just some, at least for me in my program, I'm not getting the big studs that everybody else is getting, but I'm able to get a couple of kids who are really good ball players that may, like Ty, maybe doesn't run as fast as everybody else, but he's still a good ball player. Maybe for Zach, a little undersized, but what happens in 2 years, or I'm sorry, about 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, when a kid actually gets in a college program and sees what happens. And for me at the junior college level, it's all about development, right? It's all about developing you as a baseball player, right? Them getting better on the field, but then also too as a human. We're in the middle of the Mississippi Delta. There's fields all around us. There's nothing much to do but to go play baseball and go to class. And I think that's the cool thing with some of these community colleges too, is you kind of got very similar towns, cities that they all live in that are There's not much to them. There's not many distractions.
Well, I know here in Michigan, I believe all of our junior college programs are Division II, and I didn't realize this until just a few years ago that there's also a Division I tier, and I think there might even be a Division III. I'm not sure if there are then.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
There's Division III as well.
What are you guys?
We're Division II as well. We're Division II.
Okay.
Yeah, we're Division II, Region 23. So yeah, we can same scholarship situation as what your boys had growing up.
But where are the Division III?
There's some in Texas, Eastfield, Brookhaven, who else? And then there's some on the East Coast. Region 10 has some as well. So that would be, who else is in that? Paul D. Camp Community College, which I was at for a year. They're now Region 10, Division 3. They've won it the last 2 years. There's like in Pennsylvania, Maryland, some of those schools. I think some of the New York schools are D3 as well. And
yeah, interesting.
And it has to do with the scholarship situation. So those D3s don't give athletic, Division 2s give tuition and fees, and then Division 1s are full rides, whatever they want to give.
But yeah, that's all new information to I think a lot of people. They don't realize, they just hear JUCO and they just assume it's the same thing. Where I think there's pretty big definitions that in the NCAA what that is all about: Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So before we get into more questions about JUCO level baseball from Zach, Ty, and myself, Austin, can you give us a little bit of background? I'm sure Zach could tell us a few things about you and your car and traveling the different circuit there in South Carolina. But give us your story, because what I know about you is that you did not play college baseball, which I think is really interesting.
Nope, I didn't. God just didn't have that in the plans for me. Things were a little different in graduating class 2010 in high school. Twitter was just coming around, and if your head coach didn't know anybody at the next level, it was really tough. I went to a couple tryouts, but like I said, just wasn't in the cards for me. So I started coaching at my high school at 18 years old. So I started out with Pee Wee football, which led into junior high and high school baseball, but then also I coached basketball as well. Just because I went to a small private school and I had to play. I was a three sport athlete, so had a love for coaching and just ended up coaching 3 sports. So I did that for 3 years. Coached at my alma mater, Central Hines. Kind of cool. The head coach out there is Chad Bradford. Played for the Red Sox. Played for Tampa Bay, the A's, the Mets. Yeah. So he's in Moneyball. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So he's the head coach there now, does a great job there. But so I was there for 3 years, just getting kind of my feet wet. Thought I was gonna, I was going to school too, so I was doing that, and then I was going to Mississippi College, which is a Christian Division II. Well, we did Division III when I was going there, and got to know the guys there on the baseball program. And the school, the high school I was working for, basically told me they couldn't pay me anymore. So I said, all right, that's fine. I'll go figure out what to do for free. That's fine. I can do something else. So I got to know the guys at MC, and they offered me to come be a student assistant. So that's why I got my feet wet in D3 baseball, which was awesome, was really cool. And then we made the jump to Division II my second year there, which was really neat as well, just trying to see the difference in how you deal with actually, you've got a little bit of scholarship money. Like, what kind of kids are you going to go after? We'll get to my love for Mississippi Junior College Association and in a few minutes. But yeah, we were going after mainly Mississippi JUCO kids, because there again, like we talked about, you had a fall and a spring, and these kids come in with almost 100 and something games played in 2 years. So that kid is ready to play when you put him in the lineup. So I ended up being an MC for 3 years as a student assistant, and was awesome. Just really cool to get to know them. Then I went off for the summer, and that's when I met Zach in 2016. Wanted to go coach a little bit of summer ball, kind of get out of the state and just see what's the difference and what's going on in North and South Carolina, and then, compare it back to Mississippi. So I coached that BCBL team. It was fun. I think I ended up having like a few Mississippi kids, and then a bunch of, that's been so long, I can't remember where all those kids were from, but it was a really cool experience. And then on the weekends, I was coaching that 17U travel ball team, which was awesome too, getting to play at the parks we got to play at, and just there again, just seeing the difference in those high school kids and what we have here. And then I go back to Mississippi that summer of 16. I had taken a job as the graduate assistant at Hines Community College, So that was 16. They had just come off a World Series in 14, was a number one team in 15. 16 was a little bit of a down year just because they had a lot of freshmen that played. So 17, which would have been the year I was there, we were aiming to be pretty good. So it was the head coach was Sam Temple then. He's now at Clinton High School, a local high school. And then the coaching staff was kind of cool. So me as the GA, our other assistant was Nick Amorati, who is now the hitting guy at University of Georgia. He was with Kentucky last year and kind of ran that offense. If you saw any of Kentucky's baseball, it was kind of a little different. They did a little bit of everything, which was he's the architect on that, and it's been really cool to see him run an offense at the SEC level. So he just got a job at, like I said, University of Georgia this year. And then the other assistant is a guy, he's the associate athletic director of the University of Houston now. So we were like 25, a 24-year-old, and like a 50-year-old man. So it was a really cool dynamic that year with that coaching staff, and it worked out well for us. We ended up going to the World Series that year in 17. And at Hines had like 10 or 12 Division I players, another 4 or 5 Division II guys, and then 2 guys that ended up going to D3. So we had a pretty good group of young men. So then I leave that. I knew it was a 1-year deal because I only had 1 more year left on my master's. So then I go to end up going. Didn't want to go coach summer ball. Just my girlfriend at the time, we were gonna go travel and do a couple things because it'd been a long couple of years. But then I got a call to go back to South Carolina. I coached in this Coastal Plains League for that summer, which was an eye-opening experience too. Because I was with the Florence Red Wolves, who are now the Florence Flamingos in that league. But the years after that, I think like 8 guys off the team that I coached got drafted. And so it was awesome. I had 2 kids that just won a national championship with Coastal Carolina. Just seeing how, what does their day look like when they get to the ballpark? It was a first baseman and catcher. Like, what does his day look like? What time do they get in the cage? What does Coastal have those guys doing in the cage? Like I said, I had the catcher. Like, what is his, pre-game routine? What does that look like? So that was a really cool summer. Got to there again, meet a lot of people and do a lot of things. So then I come back, don't have a job, don't know what I'm going to do. Come back on a Tuesday. I'm headed home on I-20 West. I get a call to interview for a job. Interviewed for the job on Thursday. I took it on Friday. We started school on Monday. So it came really, really quick. So that was at Southwest Mississippi Community College, which is in Macomb, Mississippi. And it was awesome. I was a second assistant, was that for 2 years. Then I got the recruiting coordinator job, was the hitting coach, and then the first assistant who I love, his name's Justin Hay. He's actually he's one of the senior associate ADs at Lenore Ryan in South Carolina in Hickory. He left to go take that job, and I got promoted to the first assistant for 2 years and was awesome. Really, I was running the offense, doing everything from that side. The head coach I was working for was a pitching guy, so he took care of that, and I took care of the other side. Got to recruit, wherever in the state, and we'll get to that in a moment. And then COVID kind of happened, and that was a weird time, obviously, in life, just dealing with that and what all that brought to college baseball. And, man, it was weird. It was a weird time. But I guess I got married at 19 when we were at Southwest, so that kind of has a special place in our heart. So then season of 21, we get around. We feel like we're good. And my head coach I was working for decides he wanted to go into administration, which is awesome. Good for him. He's actually the athletic director there now at Southwest Mississippi Community College and doing a great job down there. But he decided to go into to an athletic director spot. And so I'm left seeing what we're going to do. Obviously I wanted to be the head coach there. I thought it was going to be awesome, would be awesome to do. But there again, God didn't have that in the plans for my life. They ended up hiring one of my good friends. His name's Jack Edmondson. He's down there now and does a great job. I got him this year, though. So we ended up splitting this year with him. But, yeah. So we're off again. We don't know what we're going to do. There again, I got married. Were we going to try to go the high school route and get a high school job, or are we going to stay in college? And Zach's met my now wife, and she's my rock. And one day I was feeling sorry for myself about losing my job and that kind of stuff. And she said, well, you better suck it up and figure out what we're going to do. I said, well, she goes, what do you want to do? I said, I want to stay in college. She said, okay, go find us a school to go to. Little famous last words on that one, right? Let it be known that school was 13 and a half hours away from home. So we packed up and moved to Franklin, Virginia, in the summer of 21. They had a spot for a hitting coach job, and so we went up there and did that. We didn't know anybody. It was kind of just a God thing. We get up there, and it all worked out how it was supposed to, and we ended up loving it. Absolutely loved it. Was in a really cool area. Paul D. Cant Community College is about 500 students in total, and the baseball team made up about 50 of it. So we were the big team on campus, and it was fun. And the head coach there is Daniel Rollins. He actually just got the Virginia Baseball Coaches Association Coach of the Year. So a little shout out to Daniel. They've done some really cool things, but our year there was awesome. For me, as a offensive caller in baseball on the offensive side, I was very conservative. You know, we hit and ran at certain counts. We didn't steal a lot of bases because that's not how I was brought up in the coaching world. But getting there to Paul D. Camp, Daniel's all about running. And so he was like, hey, here's what we're going to do. This is what you're going to do. You better figure it out and learn how to do it. And we did. We stole 200 bags that year. So it was awesome. The production, obviously your run production goes up. We stole 200 bags at like 86% clip, which was awesome. And so we were around some really good competition. That was in Region 3. So you had Pitt, you had Brian Stratton College out of Virginia Beach. Who else is in there I'm missing? Danville Tech. I mean, it's a bunch of really good baseball up in that area. And there's so many kids to get recruited in that area, and a lot of them go play at the Division I level. So, like I said, did some really cool things that year. Thought we were going to be there for a little bit. Wife had a really good job. She's a teacher. So she was in a really cool school. They were doing some good things. And then I was, we were rocking and rolling on the baseball side. We were out recruiting, trying to get that thing rolling. And then this job at Coahoma Community College came open. And obviously the dream had always been for me to be a head coach. And then to get back to the state of Mississippi was kind of something I wanted to do too. Like I said, didn't think it was going to come this quick. So I applied, and they kind of sat on it for a little bit. And I was having people email the AD. People were calling the AD. I had it going on. And they finally called me one day and said, hey, if you want it, it's yours. And like I said, I knew a little bit of what I was getting into. Coahoma had always kind of been an unknown up here. The former coaching staff had just kind of, they didn't ever go out and recruit. They did stuff from their phone or very local stuff. They didn't try to recruit the entire state. So we didn't really know these guys. I didn't really know them, which I know a lot of people in the junior college level in the state of Mississippi. I know everybody, so this was always kind of a question mark up here too. The interesting fact about Coahoma is actually an HBCU. It's a historical black college. So you add that into the mix, it makes for an interesting deal. Just a lot of unknowns. So we get here, and things are kind of in a mess. The last coaching staff just kind of left it in a mess. So, the grass hadn't been cut. We start looking around. What equipment do we have? 108 baseballs and 2 tees. Let's roll. So, didn't have enough uniforms to put a team in, which that works out. I'm a year guy, so I got to do what I wanted to do. So that's perfectly fine to me. So this is, summer of 22. We get the job, and for 2 years, we've just tried to get people to know we're here. We've just tried to let people know that we're still around. It got to the point where people in the city of Clarksdale didn't know we had college baseball. So we've been trying to build some bridges and really trying to get in the community. And so you're going in. So this is year 3 for me now. You look at it, and the wins have not been great. I'm very honest, the last 2 years, but it's been a building. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And so you're going into year 3 now with this group. This is my first, this is my full group. Nobody is on this team right now that we didn't recruit in here. And so we're really excited about this spring and what it has to bring and that kind of stuff. And we can get in more about the program and how we do things. But yeah, that's kind of my story. And like you said, I didn't get the luxury of playing college baseball. I've kind of had to just work my way through it. And it's been awesome to see. And the relationships I've made through this is just, man, that's what it's about for me. Just the people being, like I wouldn't have been on this podcast if I hadn't met Zach in 16. It's just, that's the cool stuff.
Well, Austin, that's an incredible story, and I'm glad you took the time to go kind of year by year, because you can see the progression, you can hear the passion in your voice for the game of baseball. I know that Zach and Ty both have a lot of questions for you. We'll start out with Zach, since I'm sure he's kind of just chomping at the bit to throw a couple at you there.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, after hearing that story, you listen to the grind that college baseball coaches have to go through. And, when you get into that industry, everybody knows that it's a grind. But I know when I got into it, I didn't really realize how many guys are going after these jobs and how difficult it is. And there's not really much of an interview process. It's kind of like this coach knows you and he has this assistant. The assistant says he trusts you. All right, I'm going to give this guy a shot. And that's kind of how it works. But Biggs, could you touch on just like how big of a risk that was for you to go to Camp Community College, to like uproot yourself, go 13 hours away, and just like to a place where nobody knows who you are? Like, how hard did that hit you? How fun was it? And how much more like passionate about the game did it feel? Because, like, this is all I'm doing and there's no distractions. This is it. What was that like?
Yeah. So, and the thing about it is, and the kind of the reason why I was kind of left out in the cold a little bit in the state of Mississippi is our assistants don't leave. Like, our assistants in the state and our junior college level don't leave because we do a really good job of paying them well. Obviously they're a state employee, like they're getting those benefits and stuff. So those jobs don't come open a lot. So that's why it kind of forced my hand a little bit to go, well, I got to go figure out something else. If I want to stay in junior college and want to be, it's not going to be in the state of Mississippi right now. And so moving to Virginia, yeah, scary is hell. Like, just not knowing anybody, going up there to work for somebody who I didn't really know, and really with it being that far away, didn't have any contacts to figure out if he was a good dude or not, So that was a huge risk for me because, I may not have jived with him, and in a year I could have been out looking for another job. It just, you look back at it now, and I guess, Zach, I've never really thought about it that way, right? I've never thought about it being a risk, but it was huge. And obviously it worked out for me and what I do, because it helped me change as a coach, I think, from the offense standpoint. And I didn't put this in there, but the teams that we recruited in at camp the last 2 years, which my freshman class that I would have recruited in would be third years now, they've gone to back-to-back World Series. So obviously what we were doing on the recruiting aspect of things was working. And it wasn't just me. One of my best friends now, his story's cool too. I'll get you hooked up with him, Zach. He'd be a cool one to have on this podcast as well. We kind of tag team recruiting when we were up there, and it was really cool just to see that. Like Zach, you got me stumped a little bit. I had never thought of it as a risk, but it was. There again, just the unknowns of not knowing anybody, basically my wife and I, and it was, I think it was a really pivotal time in our marriage as well, right? You got to kind of lean on each other when you don't have anybody else. And that's only made us stronger from a marriage standpoint. So.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Ty, you must have questions as well, because I know for your baseball journey, you reached a point after your JUCO career and you're like, you know what? I don't think the 4-year school is a plan for me. I've got other dreams. I'm ready to move on, right? That's what this whole podcast is about. Big league dreaming, kind of learning life lessons as you grow older. And Ty, for you, that, JUCO was the end of the road for you, but you got to give Biggs big props there for following his dream, right?
Well, yeah, you got to. I mean, that story is, like Zach said, you can see the journey and what it takes to reach your dreams. It's not just, a lot of people just see, oh, this person's doing this now, but they don't see the journey. So I really appreciate you sharing the journey, Biggs. Something I wanted to ask you, I wanted to go back a little bit further than Zach did, to that summer in Florence. You mentioned that it was an eye-opening experience to you. And I kind of had a similar situation at the end of my JUCO career. I got to play in the Northwoods Leagues for 2 weeks. And I kind of had a similar experience. Like, what are these guys that are getting drafted? What are they doing at the field? Can you share, like, some of those experiences from that moment? Like, what were some of the things you saw that kind of were eye-opening to you?
Yeah, so for me, man, like it's the closest thing to pro baseball to me, right? It's a close because you're playing at 7 p.m. You're playing one single 9-inning game. You're going to play in front of 500 plus. We played in Savannah a couple times, and that absolutely craziness that is the Savannah Bananas, which I love. I think it's awesome, and I think they're doing some really good stuff for baseball. But for me, and the characteristics and things I kind of took took away from it. One, you can't judge a book by its cover. I had a kind of smaller outfielder that he played at the University of Memphis. He was a JUCO guy and then played at the University of Memphis. And you wouldn't think he's a great athlete if you walked up on him, but he ended up getting drafted by the Tigers, and had an absolute bazooka for an arm. But he didn't look that way. So the biggest thing I think I took away from it, and I talk about to my team now, another JUCO kid from Texas. His name was Mason Hibbler. Mason played shortstop for us all summer. He was going to the University of Texas. And so we're in, I don't even know where we're playing. We're like 4 hours away from home. And we get on the bus. Mason walks on the bus. He's in his full uniform, right? He is not changed. He is in full uniform still. Get on the bus. We go grab our food, head back. We get back like 3 o'clock in the morning. I get off the bus first, and I'm kind of standing by the door and telling, just kind of making sure everybody's good. And Mason gets off the bus. Mason is still in full uniform. Full uniform. Shirt is tucked in, hat is on, he's got his turfs on, full uniform. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember I looked at him, I said, Mason, did you not want to change? He goes, Coach, I'm a ball player. And I was just like, okay. So Mason went on to play outfield for the University of Texas for 2 years. He's running his own facility in Texas now. That was a big kind of like, I don't know if it was a wake-up call, but that was kind of a big like, this kid's a little different. And not in a bad way, not in a bad way, like a good way. Like, Coach, he's like, Coach, I'm a ball player. Like, I'm gonna look the way I'm supposed to look, even when I'm not even on the field. When I'm on the bus, and I've been on the bus for 4 hours. So that was a cool thing I kind of took away from him, and just seeing those kids that, it's a lifestyle for them, right? It's not, they don't like it, they don't love it. It's a lifestyle. Those upper echelon kids that just, the ones, like I said, the ones that end up getting drafted, that's just the difference. I think that's the difference. Every decision they make is towards that goal. That's what I see. That's what I saw from that summer.
That's an incredible observation, and Zach and Ty can relate to this because Zane's not on this podcast, and sometimes he can't make it because what is he doing? He's in the weight room with the guys. He's, running practice. He's got to get laundry. I mean, who knows what he's doing? I mean, that guy embodies what it means to be a coach. Am I right or am I wrong, Zach and Ty?
Oh, totally. He doesn't miss anything.
No, not a thing. So we can definitely relate to that. I know Zach and Ty have more questions. I'm going to ask a quick one here, and that's when you evaluate talent, right? When you evaluate these players to come and represent your program, what are you looking for? I know you haven't spent a lot of time in Michigan, but I'm curious from the regions in the country you have coached, what are you seeing around the country and what kind of players are you recruiting?
Yeah, so obviously there's got to be some athletic talent, right? They've got to be able to do certain things that we want to see in my program, and I think we're all baseball guys and we have an idea what that looks like, right? But for me and my program, it's got to be intangible things too. It's got to be character. It's got to be a little more about school too. It's got to be, how they deal with their teammates. But and I guess talking about the baseball side of it, there's good baseball talent anywhere, right? Up in Michigan, I'm sure y'all have really good talent. Where I was in Virginia, I mean, you're looking at a state with a couple million people. I think it's like 5 or 6 million people. There seemed like there was a kid popping up that we didn't know about every day. I'd be like, hey, who's this kid? Like, I don't know, but we need to go see him. And we did a really good job there. And when we were in Virginia, we did Virginia. We recruited Virginia really well. We also recruited North Carolina. We're about 20 miles from the North Carolina Virginia border. So we recruited North Carolina fairly heavily as well. And there was good ball players there. Obviously, the dream, you want a guy under a 7 that runs, you want guys that got quick hands. You want guys that can hit bombs, but at the junior college, you're not always going to get that skill of a player. And there again, it goes back into development. You've got to find a couple things from the baseball side that you can develop to make them into that player that you need and want them to see. And ultimately, I tell our guys in the recruiting process, like, I don't want to see your best baseball. Like, I don't. Your best baseball that we want to see is you being able to play at the 4 year that you want to go to. That's when your best baseball is being played, when you're a junior and senior in college, and from like the intangible things for me, and that's what I want to go recruit really good young men who play baseball well, really good young men who come from great families that realize it's a little more than just baseball, because those young men, tend to have a little more want to in the classroom. They have a little more want to about being a great human, and that served us. That's why I'm really excited about the group we have right now on our team right now. They really love each other, and they want to see what's best for the guy next to them. And I don't have I can't tell you, I don't have the winning formula of what that really looks like, other than just trying to make those relationships with those kids and talking to people who know them. And that's how if I figured out anything, that's kind of what I've kind of figured out that works for us here.
You want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect guest that we have lined up today, because our last episode we were actually talking about like what it takes to get recruited. And Dad, I love your question. I was going to ask even a step further. What about like travel ball? Do you go to a lot of travel ball stuff, or do you kind of stay away from that?
No, I do. Yes, because it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
So we have the old Olympic USA Stadium, which is in Millington, Tennessee, where the Olympic team used to train, like in the early '90s, is about an hour and 15 away, about an hour and 30 away from me. So I can go up there. There's 8 fields. I can catch 8 games at a time. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just, they make it so kind of easy to go up there, and you got kids coming, obviously Mississippi, Tennessee, you got Arkansas. There'll be teams from Michigan. I've seen Ohio teams. I've seen California teams. I've seen Arizona teams. Like, those kids are traveling into that kind of, and it's kind of a central location, right? It's up in kind of right above Memphis. And you can have schools from wherever, 4 years, JUCOs come to that deal. So yeah, I am going to try a lot of travel ball stuff, but I also too like having that relationship with those high school guys, just because they're in with them every day, right? They're in the classroom with them more than likely. They're in the weight room with them, and then they see how they are on a day-to-day basis, where that travel ball coach only sees them 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week. So you got to kind of, from a junior college, for me, you got to kind of balance those relationships, right? So you got to kind of check with everybody.
Zach, you want to follow up on that? Because I think you remember being in Millington, Tennessee at one time.
Yeah, I remember going to that stadium. Do you remember that, Dad? I don't remember 8 fields. Is that new, Big?
No, so yeah, it's blown up. So the big stadium's turf, and then it's 8 other fields around it that are turf. So it's mid, south, perfect game. They're running stuff out of there now.
Was that when we did our Memphis trip, Dad? We went to like Graceland and Memphis Redbirds game and that trip.
That was that trip, all right. It's a memorable trip.
It's wild up there now. It's crazy.
Do you remember when our car got broken into in Memphis and I lost my Game Boy? It got stolen out of the van.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
I remember that.
That was my fault. I forgot to lock the car. I had to go to the car to get something that night. Your mom was like, go get, don't forget to lock the car. I'm like, I'm not going to forget that, right? Next day, Game Boy stolen. No, we had something else stolen too. A couple other things. I think
DVDs or something.
Yeah. Might have been a printer or something. I don't know.
It was the Game Boy that was the valuable piece.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Biggs, can you give us like an overview of the college baseball landscape in Mississippi? Because obviously us from Michigan, we have Michigan listeners on our podcast. Is it a lot of small D1 programs, or is there many NAI schools or D2 schools around the state of Mississippi? And then do you have any relationships with those like big, like with Coach Lemonis at Mississippi State? Did you send him a text, congratulations, after you won the World Series, anything like that?
Yeah, so obviously let's work our way from top to bottom. Obviously, you have 3 big Division I schools. 2 of them went back-to-back national champions, and then you have a third who probably that year Ole Miss won in 22 should have been there as well, in Southern Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi, who always seems to be hosting a regional and playing at a super regional. They do They do a really good job. And I'll be honest, that's who I have my best relationship with is the guys at Southern Miss. I talked about Chad Bradford here a little while ago. His son is actually the pitching coach down there, Keller Bradford, and he's a former teammate of mine and went to the same high school as me. And then and actually too, kind of cool thing while we're on the subject, all the coaches that coach at Southern Miss are all JUCO guys as well. Coach Oz was the head coach at Jones College in Ellisville, Mississippi. Then you've got Lad Rhodes, who has played at Jones, coached at Jones. Who am I missing? Ben Brewer, coach at Mississippi Gulf Coach. Keller coached at Hines. Creel coached at Jones as well and played at Jones as well. So that's where my best connection is with those guys. But no, I mean, obviously, Mississippi State has got that wonderful stadium and a rich history. And then you got Ole Miss, who made a really cool run in 22. So you got those kind of the big dogs there. And then you have your HBCUs, Jackson State, Alcorn, Mississippi Valley. Jackson State usually does a really good job in the SWAC, and those the other two programs just have newer head coaches. So I'm interested to see what they do. And then Division II, you've got Mississippi College, my alma mater, and then you got Delta State, which has been an absolute force in Division II for a long, long time. You look up and Delta State's going to be winning 35 to 45 games a year. Cleveland is about 30 minutes from us, so we go watch games there all the time. But they do a really good job. So you got those two. Then you've got we got any D3s? I'm trying to think. You've got the University of Mississippi for women, who's a D3. They just started baseball less than 5 years ago. Then you have several NAIAs. You've got Blue Mountain, which is kind of up here near me. Then you've got William Carey, who is down in Hattiesburg. They went to the World Series back-to-back years this last 2 years. They do a really good job down there. And then you've got a couple other NAIAs, Russ College. I feel like I'm missing somebody. And then you have all of us junior colleges. So there's 15 of us. We're in region 23. Our region used to be hooked up with LSU Eunice, but we kind of sort of kicked them out and made them go Division I junior college because they had a little bit of an unfair advantage in our league. So it's just us in Region 23 now, all the Mississippi schools. I'm sure there'll be some rankings coming out next couple weeks. You'll probably have no less than 5 in the top 25 in the nation, I would bet. That's Pearl River Community College, East Central Community College, who went to back-to-back World Series. You've got Mississippi Gulf Coast that's been really good. And who else am I missing? Jones College has been ranked, Northeast Mississippi, Itawamba, Northwest. I mean, it goes on and on. So the one thing that kind of makes us a little unique, so we have roster limits. We can only have 35 on our roster. So that's different than other junior colleges, right? Because where I was in Virginia, we could have as many as we wanted. I don't know what it is in Michigan, but we can only have 35. And the other interesting fact about us, too, 6 of those kids, we're only allowed 6 of those kids to be out of state. So the other 29 of those kids have to come from the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, that's an interesting rule. I did not know that. It just seems like some of those rosters are so big, at least up here in Michigan. Hey, folks, again, you're listening to Big League Dream, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. We're talking to Austin Biggs. He's a head coach at Coahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Let's kind of wrap up things here for our guest, guys. I'm going to throw a question out, then we'll go to Ty and then to Zach to wrap things up here. I'm curious, Coach, how you handle the losses. You said earlier in the podcast that the wins have been a little tough. Last year was tough. In the conference play, I think you only had, one win, and not many more in overall. These kids are young, right? They're 17, 18, 19, 20. A lot of them have been probably pretty successful high school players, travel ball players. I would imagine that's part of learning the game of baseball. That's why we love it so much, because it teaches about life as well. How do you get through those rough spells? I mean, you've had a few years now of it.
Yeah, day by day. You come back to the park and continue to work on your craft. Yeah, there's been some droughts in my career, in my short head coaching career, of droughts of winning, but that there again, it ultimately for me, it's not about the wins and losses. It's all about these young men growing as young men, growing into young men, I guess, and teaching them that life's not always the best. It's not always social media, because we always get people's best. Sometimes it kind of sucks, and you've only got one thing to do, and that's keep going. The option there for our guys is to keep working, and we're more worried about the process instead of the end goal. Now we're going to shoot for the end goal, right? But we've got to work hard to keep going day to day about that.
A good perspective. Ty, you want to follow up with any other question?
Yeah, I got a fun one for you. If you had just one day to coach any MLB team, what team are you picking right now?
I'm a Ranger fan, so
Rangers?
I will be in Arlington. Yeah, I'll be in Arlington. That'd be fine. I'll do that. I'll coach in 75-degree AC. That's cool with me. I'm good. Hey, we got our one World Series. I'm good. I'm good for a little bit. I'm fine.
Good question, Ty. All right, Zach, I know yours would be the Mariners if you had one team to coach, but that's different.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of piggyback off of Ty's question. And I mean, from my dad's, just big seeing how well connected you are throughout the state. I have no doubt that that you won't turn things around there at your school, and you've shown that you've been able to recruit. So good things are coming your way. I know it, my man. But yeah, to piggyback on Ty's question a little bit, how well connected are you with like Major League Baseball, following your Rangers, following the Major League Baseball game? Are you kind of like, a baseball nut where you're like watching all that stuff on Twitter, or is it so far removed because the only thing you're watching on Twitter is like kids taking BP and like recruiting and watching kids and trying to build your program for the better? Where do you fall?
No, I think I'm a baseball nut. So we had our first little boy in May of 23. So he's 19 months old now. So my wife, we just sat and watched baseball for like 2.5 months every day. I really like the Major League Baseball where we're at with it. We'll go to a Ranger game every year. We're going to be in Dallas and go see them. My dad watches every Ranger game on MLB TV. So I love that game. It's different, but I really love the college game. Going and watching the World Series and the Supers and the regionals leading up to that, and even watching a lot of just college games, I enjoy that just as much as watching Major League Baseball. I think there's a little different aspect, just like college football, right? In the NFL, it's very similar. And even we've got, even got the point, but with my Twitter, yeah, it's filled with recruiting stuff, no doubt. But even too, like we've gotten some friends here in Clarksdale who got little small boys, and we're going out to the ballpark and watching them play too. So yeah, it's in every facet of what we do and who we are as a family. And I guess baseball nut is your answer to that. Does that work?
That works. Join the club.
Join the family. Austin Biggs, it's so great talking to you, getting to know you and hearing your story. I don't know about you guys, but I could go for some cookout right now, right, Zach?
Every time Mom comes down to milkshake Ty, every single time, Mom will be like, John, what are we getting cookout tonight or milkshakes tomorrow night? Every night.
Hey, well, it's so cheap you can get it multiple times.
For sure. Well, thanks again, Austin. Great having you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you back sometime. Good luck this season. Good luck this spring. For us in Michigan, we got a winter to get through, but I know there's not too much snow down there in Mississippi, but good for you. All right, Zach, anything else you want to add before Ty wraps this up?
No, I just want to say thanks, Biggs. I've been wanting to have you on for quite some time, so really happy we were able to make it happen. We appreciate it.
All right, Ty, why don't you give everyone all the information about how to follow Big League Dreaming, the podcast?
Yep, you can follow us on TikTok at Big League Dreaming. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at BLD Pod. That's at BLD POD. And, of course, here on YouTube every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll catch you next Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank y'all so much.